Hello, bonjour. This is my attempt at describing some highlights of our trip to Paris, France in August of 2011, and to describe for you some of the major sites that we saw in a week in Paris and suggest to you how you'd be well served to see those same sites. My wife and I were in Paris in August of 2011. We stayed in a rented apartment in the Marais district. It was a great deal. Uh, the idea of renting an apartment is a much better value than staying in a hotel room. And some of the things that we did, of course, we did the art museums, the Louvre and the Orsay. They are both great museums, obviously. The Orsay is in a former train station, beautiful interior building. The Louvre is famous for its collection, huge, and has the Mona Lisa. The um, the security lines are probably the biggest holdup at entry into the Louvre. You can buy tickets fairly easily at a kiosk, and the I don't think it's necessary to buy the tickets ahead of time online or in the States. I don't think the purchase of the tickets adds to your waiting time. I strongly suggest that if you're going to either of those large art museums, you make it the first order of business and on a given day and start and find yourself at that museum uh, just before they open the doors. Your lines will be the shortest and the crowds inside will be the least. Besides seeing the big art museums, after your visit to the Louvre, you probably want to walk to the Tuileries, large open park-like gardens where you'll see kids sailing little miniaturized sailboats on the pond and people sitting out and having a coffee under the trees, just enjoying the outdoors. The Tuileries is a great, beautiful walk and a nice place to see. Uh, in the evening, at around sunset, I strongly suggest you find yourself at Sacré-Cœur in the Montmartre district. In around the Sacré-Cœur Sacred Heart Cathedral, you will find lots of artists, uh, usually sketching portraits, dozens of them, lots of outdoor cafes. You take a walk around the Marais district. I'm sorry, you take a walk around the Montmartre district by Sacré-Cœur. You sit on the steps and look at the sun setting over the city of Paris. It's beautiful. There's a funicular that takes you up the very steep hill to Sacré-Cœur, and it's actually part of the Paris metro system. So if you've bought a Mobilis, Mobilis pass, which is a all-day pass for the metro, you can use it. And one additional metro ride is to take the funicular up the hill. Then you walk around, you see the artists painting sketches, you adventure in that neighborhood a little bit. Um, Another item that you don't want to miss in Paris is the Père Lachaise Cemetery. This is the cemetery where Oscar Wilde and Chopin and Jim Morrison are all buried. But hundreds of other famous people are buried there. Edith Piaf is buried there, and I'm overlooking some. But they have great tombs. You can take hundreds of pictures in the Père Lachaise Cemetery. It's a public cemetery. It's open to the public. It closes at 6 p.m. and they start throwing people out at 5:45 p.m. So allow yourself at least an hour and preferably 2 hours to stroll around and take pictures of these great, great tombs with interesting statues and interesting memorabilia on them. I would definitely see Père Lachaise. Now, when you're taking the metro to Père Lachaise, there is a station called Père Lachaise, but I suggest you go to the Gamberta station, which is up at the top end of the Père Lachaise cemetery, and then you can work your way down through the cemetery going downhill and return home from the Père Lachaise station, which is down at the lower elevation at the bottom end of the cemetery, if you will. There are several gates to the cemetery. It's free and it's open to the public. Now, if you like dead things, you're also going to want to see the catacombs, also known as the ossuary. In the late 1800s, when disease became well, maybe the late 1700s, when disease became a problem at the Paris cemetery, they moved all the remains, 6 million bones, the bones of 6 million people, out to what was then the countryside. And the catacombs are something you pay admission for. The price is something under 10 euros. You climb down 83 steps to a walkway well below the city. It's cool and damp and dark down there. You walk through narrow passageways for 1.7 kilometers, and you see the bones of 6 million Parisians. It's a great thing. It's not for the squeamish. It's dark and damp down there. It's probably temperatures in the mid 50s Fahrenheit, and it's a great item. I think it opens at 10 in the morning, and when I got there at 9:45, there was already a line wrapped around the block, and I didn't get in till 11:45. I walked through the pathways for about an hour, and and that was because I had arrived at 9:45 for a 10 a.m. opening. I would suggest you be there by 9:15 or 9:30. You'll probably get right in at 10 o'clock, and it's a great highlight for people who like macabre things. You also want to see the Pigalle area. That's a metro station. It's all full of sex shops and the seedier side of Paris. It's the area where the Moulin Rouge is. And I suggest you take in a show at the Moulin Rouge, which is expensive but worth it. They also offer the Moulin Rouge show with drinks or with drinks and dinner. I personally would get just the bare bones admission ticket, which I believe was 90 euro and worth it for a great song, dance, magic show, entertainers, comedian, sort of. It's all in French, but it's adapted to a worldwide audience, and it was a great night at the theater. The Moulin Rouge is a place where Toulouse-Lautrec used to hang out. Now, if you're taking the metro to the Moulin Rouge, you'll want to get out not at the Pigalle station, but at the Blanche metro station. It's right there across the street from the Moulin Rouge. Of course, you're going to want to see the Eiffel Tower. I suggest you do that for an hour or two in the evening, maybe around 5 or 6 p.m. Get a bottle of wine and a baguette, sit out on the grass, just soak it up. There are long lines to walk up the stairs or to take a lift. You don't need to go up it to appreciate it. And that's a place to have a little picnic of some food you've picked up at a shop, bread and cheese and wine, and just sit and enjoy the beauty of that. There is a boat ride. There are many different companies that take boat rides down the Seine. We took something called the Bateau bus. That was maybe 10 euro. You can get on and off, unlimited. It stops maybe 6 or 7 different places on the Seine. It turns around and goes back in a circle. You sit and look up, and it's a great way to see the city from the river. The Arc de Triomphe is, of course, it's a traffic circle, and quite a few major roads converge there, and it is the tomb of the unknown soldier, if you will, for France, and it's a war monument to all of the French battles and French military heroes. Another event that you won't want to miss, every Friday night in Paris, there is an organization that organizes a rollerblading run through the city. The route changes every Friday, and they publish it on Thursday on their website, which is Pari, P-A-R-I hyphen roller, Pari Roller. And it's Parisians rollerblading in a pack, hundreds and hundreds of them, preceded by a motorcycle police escort and followed up by a couple of ambulances. And you find yourself sitting at an outdoor restaurant somewhere along the route. They start from the Montparnasse, I'm probably mispronouncing that, cemetery area, and it starts at about 10 p.m. But it takes a half an hour for all the rollerbladers to go by in a pack. It's quite something to see. It's every Friday night. The uh, Gardens of Luxembourg Gardens, is also beautiful flower gardens, open park. It's well worth spending an hour or two strolling through the Luxembourg Gardens. And the Pompidou Center is a modern building with exterior escalators and pipes and tubes and multiple colors. There's some great street performers by the Pompidou Center. It's in the Marais district. The, um, the Pompidou Center is an office building, but it's got fountains outside, courtyards, and lots of street action. Next, I would strongly suggest that you, of course, anybody traveling to Paris must adjust for, if you're an American, you must adjust yourself for how long it takes to eat a restaurant meal. If you're trying to conserve your time, you may want to be mindful of that and eat some picnic lunches or picnic dinners if you need to save the time, because if you sit down in a restaurant for lunch or dinner, you're pretty much committed for a 2 hour experience. And I think my best way of analyzing it is that in Paris, bringing you your check before you ask for it would be considered rude. Uh, Hurrying you along through your meal would be considered rude. And so uh, it, it takes a long time before you are acknowledged after you've been seated. It takes a long time before you're asked for your order. It takes a long time before you get the check, and it takes a long time to pay the check. That's wonderful. That's Paris life. You need to immerse yourself in it, but you also need to be mindful that that's the way it's going to be. And if you are on a tight schedule and you've got lots of things you want to do, you may need to pass on quite so many sit-down restaurant meals and grab a sandwich at a shop and walk while you're eating, and save the restaurant meal for when you really want to unwind for a couple of hours and watch the world go by. Both are great experiences, but it's a mistake to sit down in a restaurant if you think you're going to grab a quick bite, eat, and get out and on your way. Those are my tips for today on highlights of things to see in Paris, and I think you can make your own list, but these are some highlights that we have found to be uh, really great. Now get a metro ticket and ride the metro. Save your walking. There'll be plenty of walking without even using the metro. You'll find yourself doing plenty of walking. But get a metro ticket, get a day pass, get a multiple day pass, and learn the system. There are more than 10 different metro lines. You have to look at the map and see where your destination is and where your origin is and what lines might cross. You may need to transfer from a yellow line to an orange line to get to your final destination. Once you get that down pat, you'll be zooming around Paris. It's so much faster to take a metro than to take a taxi cab. It's less money, but it's much, much faster. Now, if you want to see some of Paris while you go from point A to point B, you can use that same metro pass to ride a surface bus, but you'll be traveling at the same speed as the cars, and that's slow, and there's a lot of stops. However, you will be looking out the window. So there's times for taking the metro where you're underground and zipping along in a train, and there's other times where it's better to be on a surface bus and looking out the windows, and there's plenty of walking in between all of that. Those are my tips on Paris travel for today. It's August 2011. Thanks.